Hello, and welcome to another lesson about how you can improve your English for academic and professional purposes, skills. And we're going to be having what we call the film review for today. I have here an example, and this example is entitled What's the Sense of the Sixth Sense? It was written by Camille Angela Curitana. According to Wyson, the one thing that is important in writing a film review is that you have you have a witty title. What do you mean by a witty title? A witty title is something that is catchy, something that can capture the reader's attention. So you can see that it's very important that you capture the reader's attention when you are coming up with a title, because the kind of title that you have will make the readers feel more interested in reading the article that you have written. Ang mahalaga na kapag nagsulat ka, yung title mo ay madaling maintindihan at interesante para sa mga readers mo. Katulad na lang nito. What's the sense of the sixth sense? Okay? The first paragraph is supposed to be devoted for what we call the synopsis. Now here is where you can find the synopsis of the film. What do we mean by synopsis? Synopsis is like the trailer of the movie. You remember when you want to know what the plot of the movie is and who are the main characters in the movie, you watch the trailer. But because we have a written format, then you can write a synopsis to give that to your audience. Although you have to be very careful not to divulge the ending so that you're not spoiling your viewers' experience or viewing experience. In that case, you can just give a hint about the film's ending, just like what we have here in our example. Take notice that you have the first sentence as providing a background to what the film is or the status of the film, and then who produced that film, and then aside from that, you talk about the characters. So here you have Malcolm Crowe and you have Cole Sear. Okay. So with that, the next part is that you have your you can have your plot tungkol saan ba yung pelikula, anong nangyari. So it's like here you will be able to talk about the elements of the narrative. You can have the setting, you can have the characters, and then you can have the conflict, and of course you may also indicate the climax of the movie if you want to, but just be careful that you don't divulge the ending. Why? That's because, just like what we mentioned, it's going to spoil the 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 viewing experience of your readers. So that's why in the end, here you can just give a hint, a shocking revelation about himself at the end of it all. But you're not telling them what really happened. That way they will be more curious. Mas curious sila kapag nagbigay ka lang ng hint. Kasi pag binigay mo na yung hint, wala na. Masisira na yung viewing experience nila kung maganda yung movie. So you avoid that. Okay? Now let's move on to the next page. The second page, or the next paragraph, is devoted for the general impression. So what's the general impression of the author about the movie? So when you do the general impression, just like here, you've got to be able to provide what we call transitional ideas, because this part this part serves as your connector from the previous paragraph. So from the synopsis, you are going to connect the synopsis to the general impression of the author. Okay, now we talk about the next paragraphs. Remember that before this lesson, we talked about the different elements of a movie. There were 7 of them that I discussed with you in class, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have all of them in your film review. Kindly take note that in a particular review that you're going to be having, you may choose among the 7 suggested elements that you would like to critique in your article. But just like in this one, the author actually just chose to review the acting, the production, the design of the production design, and then the plot. So that you only have 3. In the first paragraph, she mentioned, in the third paragraph, the author mentioned about the acting skills of the actors. So remember before, or the usual things that your teachers would always tell you to do when you're doing a critic is that you have to provide the positive before you provide the negatives. So here, she started with the good acting skills of the actor. She talked about how Bruce Willis once again was able to deliver his part well. But after that, she mentioned about the production design, and she found it to be something that's not pleasing or not that good, because she said that there was no background music, and she also mentioned that it was like any old-fashioned thriller that that is just making use of silence instead of making use of background music to further thrill the audience. And then afterwards, she had discussed about the plot. Kindly take note that in in every paragraph, or in every element, there is always a transitional connection. Like here, since the number 3 paragraph is discussing about the acting, she mentioned it first in the 4th paragraph. And then for the 5th paragraph, because she finished discussing about acting and production design, she also had it as an introductory statement for the 5th paragraph. And so she mentioned about all those things and discussed it. Now, once you're done with that, you may proceed to the last part of your movie review, wherein the last part is talking about the overall evaluation. How did you find the movie? Some people would be using, stars like this one, or they could just say or write their verdict about whether it's good or whether it's a bad movie. But in the easiest way to make use of your ideas for evaluation is to provide stars, just like Curitana has done in her article. And then when she mentioned about this overall evaluation, she also is able to have the recommendation or you may opt to have a recommendation. Pwede ka mag-recommend. Pwede ba siyang panoorin, o pwede kayang wag na siyang panoorin. So it depends on you. But Coritana was able to do the justification for the 2 stars that she gave instead of recommending. So she said that good acting, that there is good acting. Um, there, there, there might be good acting, but then she also said that it was not achieving, or it did not achieve the purpose of a thriller, which is to thrill or to surprise people. This is her overall evaluation. She also mentioned about how the movie was at the beginning, and that it has a sloppy production. So if you notice, this was like a paraphrase of all the paragraphs before it. But it's like you're paraphrasing yourself, just like what we have practiced in class. So it's like you're paraphrasing yourself. You're making, or you are saying things in another way, but in a shorter manner. So always make sure that when you have to write your outline for a film review, you should be having, first up, you should be having the synopsis. After the synopsis, you talk about the general impression. So, what was your general impression of the movie? And then you talk about the elements that, the striking elements of the movie that you think contributed to your overall evaluation at the end. And you may have you should have the justification of the overall evaluation that you are going to write, and then make sure that that you're able to really cover, and that you're not unfair in writing the movie review. Just in case you have questions, feel free to address your questions to me or write them in the chat boxes that we have in our Google Classroom. Okay, thank you so much.